Cool. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages and body types, we are here with Dr. Sally Price today. I'm going to quickly do a word glossary as well. If you hear the word chronobiology, it means the timing that you eat. Is that pretty much right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's timing of everything that you do. So it could be chronobiology relating to exercise time of day, or it could be about your sleep-wake routine, or it could be your eating routine. So chronobiology is all of the time-related biology stuff.
So we say that a lot, that word. And peristalsis is where your food is moving down your esophagus it's got these little muscles that contract, right? And it pushes
so it's the wave of movement through the gut.
Cool. So there's two words that I
two big
logged
words.
to share. So it makes sense as we go through.
I don't remember those words at all.
But
I suppose microbiome is
the big one.
teeming trillions of bacteria that you've got in your gut too. So maybe we should mention microbiome.
Yeah.
Perfect. Before we get into the details of what we spoke about, this episode is brought to you by All Trades Cover. Little just side note before we talk about All Trades Cover, John is
Congrats.
the MVP.
MVP.
Greatest camel handball player in the world.
Wow.
He literally got MVP at the World Cup.
Wow.
So I know I'm going to ask him if we can be drafted and go over and play next year.
So sick.
Wouldn't that be the
greatest? Can we all go on camel?
Well,
Can I come with you to that?
He messaged me yesterday morning saying, I've literally ridden camels 5 times for a total of 10 minutes in my life.
I was going to say, he walked them.
Yeah, he walked them. He's never ridden them. So
wow.
He's the best player on the planet.
Wow. We should definitely.
Yes.
Yep.
That would be incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
That aside, alltradescover.com.au, his company, if you want to get some insurance, if you're a tradie, Delby, what would they cover you for?
Just stuff that I can't legally say. Maybe even a camel tournament. Who knows?
Reckon, look, I'm not going to say specifically. I reckon if you backed into a mixer, a cement mixer.
Don't say it.
That's
too specific.
Okay, just too specific.
So if you're a sole trader, just call them up. They'll let you know what they can insure for legal purposes.
Things.
Yes.
Potentially accidental things. Yes.
So
legally, we're not allowed to specify any specific scenario
because they could call back on that. So
yes,
hit them up, drop our name, and hopefully that will help us get more money next year.
Help us, help you, help them, help us, help them.
Love it. Also, this episode is brought to you by Feed, a supplement company that is animal based, locally sourced, locally based, and ethically sourced,
and bioavailable.
The bioavailability of it is obviously a lot better because it is animal based. It is they've got oysters in their supplements. They've got the beef organ. They got the organ complex, beef liver, honey, collagen. Get around them. Use the code word HARDYARN for 10 to 15% off. I can never remember how much you get off.
Nope.
And finally, this episode is brought to you by Goat Tape. We talked a little bit about breath and calming the central nervous system, but they're very good for calming that. Good for sleep. 35% more oxygen you get in.
That's a lot. Breathing through your nose is so important.
Yes.
So, got to do that.
So I've been actually using the mouth tape specifically for the last, probably only the last week, like every night. And I had a notable night the other night when I went, this is the greatest night's sleep.
So is it mouth tape or across your nose to make you...
They've got both.
Okay.
So I was just using the nose tape, but the mouth tape is...
Maybe it's cheaper than a stop box. I'll just do mouth tape to stop you from eating.
Oh, yeah, that'll work. Yeah.
And it's actually that good that it definitely sticks on my whiskers, which is good. That's very good. Cool. But also I took it off to have a drink at night and put it back on. It stuck, no problem throughout the whole night. So good, strong,
special.
Get involved. Goat, use the code word HARDYARN.
Cool.
But yes, this episode we were joined by Dr. Sally Price once again.
Thank you.
And we specifically touched on gut health. Do you remember or recall exactly what we touched on?
What we talked about?
In general,
yeah.
Well, we talked about chronobiology.
Yeah.
We talked about the teeming cells of bacteria that we've got in the system. We talked about how toxic seed oils were. We talked about...
strategies to put in place
to make it work.
Yeah, if you're a late night eater or like some benefits and some
different body types. So we talked a lot about different body types, the age and stage of life, and how we really need to tune in and know ourselves so that we know what works, what doesn't work. It's all about choice and consequence. It's not about beating ourselves up. It's about I'm going to try this today, and if that works, I'll go that direction.
How to source foods.
Yep.
Getting good foods.
Dirty dozens and clean 15s.
Yeah, that was great. Very happy with that. And then, probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics, healing the gut. Very, very informative episode. So
yeah, cool.
Very happy to have you on, and we'll definitely get you on again for another area of your expertise.
Next time.
But perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Let's get healthy.
So
Let's get hard.
Welcome to Hard Yarns Podcast.
I am fucking fat.
Anything Chris White says, please disregard it.
5D is actually a state of being. It's a unity consciousness.
That was Hard Yarns with me, Frankie Rose. So I'm going to throw it over to your co-host,
Daniel Delby.
And Cameron Branch.
I would do this and then I'd gong.
Free in attendance for the millions listening at home. Let's get hard.
Yes.
Yay.
People watching, we've got one camera out. Like, for whatever reason, HDMI, I'll fix it. But we have our key camera on our guest, Dr. Sally Price. Thanks so much for coming back.
Yeah, thanks for having me again. We'll try and stay on track this time. Hey, that'll be interesting.
All good.
So we're here to talk gut health as a key topic. So
listen to your gut.
Yeah, you got to do have to listen to your gut. Before we get into it, Delby, tell us about your time away, been on tour.
Queensland was incredible. Every show was sold out. Caloundra was the best show, so Kings Beach Tavern up Sunshine Coast. Best show since Astor Theatre last year.
Really?
Yeah.
How's you're selling Astor Theatre again?
Yeah, so we're up to 450 tickets at the moment. So if you want to come check that out, another 400 left, and it's nearly a sellout.
Very nice.
When's that happening?
May 17.
Oh, cool.
May 17, yeah. So, yeah, it's selling well, touch wood. People that haven't been, come check it out because it's going to be fire. There's new stuff. It's basically going to be all new compared to last year.
Well, I don't know how many of our new followers are from Perth.
Yeah.
But we got like 17,000 new followers in the last couple of weeks. So,
well, if they're in Perth, they should definitely come along because it was so much fun seeing you as part of the Fringe Festival.
Did you come to 33 single or the Ick or both?
33 single.
33 single.
Yeah, that was fun because like you were making up your rap song with the audience.
Yeah.
His little raps.
Little raps. Yeah. No, that was a good show. I remember the one you came to was a pretty fun show. I thought.
It was. Yeah. And was that where somebody? Yeah, I think you were reading out like things that people had found out during dating, and was that the one about
that would have been the
killed
Ick.
Someone one?
Don't know. That might have been confessional or the Ick, but
it was an Ick one.
Yeah. So
no, but it was it was cool.
Good fun.
It was really good.
Fun. Yeah. I remember that one being fun.
That's good. Good to have you back though, Daniel.
Yeah.
How long are you back for?
Till Thursday, then back Tuesday for a month, and then away.
Fucking hell. You are going a lot of places. It's good though, man. It's fucking
everywhere.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But our guest, we touched on it last time you were on, like briefly touched on gut health. There were so many things we wanted to discuss with you last time, but I had to get you back on to talk just gut. And it's something that's been coming up a lot with me.
Pop that up a bit so it catches your face.
Oh, yeah. with Delby. There's been a lot of things coming up in that space.
Everyone's concerned about it at the moment. I feel like there's just so much going on. And I mean, that's gone on for ages, but now people are really starting to tune in about it and realising the importance of the gut microbiome and what they can do about it. And, we know so much more, and over time there's been so much written about it in the research, and people are starting to really get to grips with that, I think.
Yeah. And it's not like a fad. You know how the Atkins diet came in and then there's all these different fads. Is gut microbiome just a new fad, or is it something that's got a lot of research and sort of stuff proven behind it? Because I know when you get your stomach right, you always feel better, but that could just be the correlation, not causation.
Oh, that old chestnut. Yeah, we've heard a bit about that, haven't we? Yeah. Well, I mean, I think when I was putting this course together, I realised that I started talking publicly about this in 2015, which was about when all the research really took off.
Yeah.
So, you had all the papers being written about different microbes and the gut microbiome and the links with all the different organ systems of the body and how this one area can influence so many other parts of how your system works.
Yep.
And what's really fascinating is that all the different dietary ways that those trends, exactly as you're discussing, like you've got your vegans, your vegetarians, your carnivores, your ketos, all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And so now the reason that all took off was because of technology being able to process and, examine samples for the microbes and get quicker and cheaper and easier understanding of exactly what's there. And also what we're understanding is what products the microbes make, and so the impact that they have, and that's a lot of the gut-brain links stuff as well. So that whole link with mental health and as well as, the system, the metabolic and the inflammatory and anti-inflammatory. So everything is about how do we regain that balance. And I mean, to me, working in practice clinically, learning about this was like, whoa, we can influence so many things by taking care of the gut microbiome. And being in functional medicine, which is kind of place that people come when they've tried out everything else. They've seen their GP, they've seen this specialist, they've seen that specialist, they've gone here, they've gone there, and they've been to see a gastroenterologist who says what you eat has no influence on your gut symptoms and things like that. And people have come in and told me this, and it's like, how can you even say that?
Yeah,
it's
just the bare minimum of logic is what I put in my mouth.
It's going to affect my health.
It's going to be broken down and dissolved, and some things are going to be harder or easier to break down. And that's basic science. Of course, it's going to affect how you feel.
Yeah.
Like after a big steak,
yeah.
If I don't chew properly, which is often,
you might choke.
That's harder to digest than something soft.
Well, gut problems were my why. That was what started me going down the vegetarian, because I couldn't. Every time I had meat, I got meat sweats, and I blamed the meat instead of probably the damage.
Your digestion,
correct.
how your digestion is working.
Exactly.
That you're having for footy.
And it worked. Yeah, the anti-inflammatories and the damage I'd done to my gut. And I blamed it on meat because
that seemed to be triggering things.
Correct. And I was sweating at night, and that was because it was difficult to digest.
Like your poor body's going, no, I'm sending you all these messages and you're not listening to me.
Exactly. So I sort of got around it by going vegetarian, and it was easier to digest and stuff. And that initially had a great impact. Huge impact. Yep. And then the same problems come back, and you're like, my health wasn't as good. And then I went to carnivore, fucking felt great. But then the same sort of issues that you sort of, if you start eating and drinking too much, and they come back no matter what you're doing. So the more damage I was doing to my gut, the worse I felt.
Yeah, because it's like, you do something and it takes a load off, and then your body's like, oh, I'm a bit happier now. But like if you don't actually address the cause of the cause of the cause, right? So it's like, and that's what functional medicine is. It's like you're investigating, you're peeling away and looking at, okay, so that helps, but did it help enough? And did we support the digestion underneath that? Or what actually needed adjusting to bring you back into balance? And that could be anything. It could be chronobiology. It could be lifestyle. It could be, your sedentary job, or like whatever it is for somebody. And so if we don't really get underneath what was going wrong, then you can take pathways that seem helpful but aren't really getting you back to being your best self.
Just like a Band-Aid almost, huh?
Well, yeah, it can be other kinds of Band-Aids. So, and that's where I think really digging into underneath and finding out what could be the real problem, as opposed to, okay, I'll just take that out, I'll take that out. And I think everybody does. Like, it's all part of that learning procedure. So, sorry, I'm using my hands too much.
Yeah, that's all right.
If you change something and then it's kind of, that feels a bit better, but did I really completely sort it? And like you said, there's this unraveling of like, how do things play out down the track. And I think everybody's been on some kind of that journey, right? You know, people kind of like desperate, oh God, I've got this bloating, I've got this, I can't go to the loo, like I'm not going frequently enough, or I've got reflux, all of those kinds of symptoms that people commonly have.
Described myself like
all
11,
of
12
the
years
above.
ago.
Yeah. And so people are like desperate, I've got to work my way out of, like, how do I get out of this? Okay, maybe I'll do this fast, maybe I'll do a water fast, a juice fast, this, that, and the other, or, the carnivore scenario. That's, all these trends become popular because do you know what I think happens is that people will get on something and kind of like, oh, this is great, it's really working for me. And then there's the hype about it, and then all these other people try it. And then if it doesn't work for half of those people, they're like, oh, I did that, and that's not, And so we need to just keep learning, and no shame, no blame, just kind of like going, oh, well, that worked for a bit, but maybe it wasn't the total answer. Maybe I need to, and I think, well, what we weren't allowed to talk about in medicine was detox, which is like, got to talk about these things now because taking a load off and allowing your body to just have less input is really important. And as you were talking about before, was that chronobiology. So if we're eating at the wrong time, and the digestive capacity just isn't there, is it?
Yeah.
And although there'll be many shift workers, but it's like, how do you manage that shift work? How do you get around that? Or, are you best off just having like a really good quality bone broth so that you're getting nutrients, you feel a little bit full, you've got enough calories to set off your sleep programs.
Yeah.
But you're not overloading the system, so you just can't get to sleep.
Gluggy.
And it's all gripey and horrible.
So for listeners, pre-pod, I was saying when I finish a show, it's like 10:30, 11, then I want to eat, and then I sleep an hour later. So, and the only things open is like Macca's and shit. So it's like you don't really have any good source of food. I was getting the grilled snack wrap and just getting the grilled chicken out of it.
Yeah, and when you're on tour, it's even worse, isn't it? Because you don't even have the option of like, I've got something pre-made at home
in your fridge, or
Yeah.
But you can take little packets of the dried meat snacks and stuff like that kind of a thing, I suppose. But it's really like just trying to plan for that. And I think planning is really how you could workshop that and kind of work out what the problem solving for that. Because otherwise, like you say, you come back and you're just like, you're not firing. And for your work, like you've got to be firing on all cylinders because you're kind of bringing together so many ideas. Yeah. And so you've got to have your brain really well fueled, right? It's like, just run out of fuel.
Yeah.
Well, that you alluded to it before, the gut-brain sort of connection.
Brain links.
How do they find that out?
Yeah. And
like I know that serotonin is made in our gut. Is that right?
Yeah.
And melatonin as well. Is melatonin in the brain and serotonin in the gut?
Well, a lot of the pathway. Well, obviously, like whatever you take in, so you've got to have enough protein to have that broken down in your stomach with into amino acids, and then the amino acids are the particles that then you build other proteins from. So you kind of break down protein amino acids, and then you start creating, your neurotransmitters.
Yep.
So
the amino acids get processed in the inside of the nucleus of the DNA by the ribosomes or something, and then it turns into the proteins. Is that what happens, or is it happening in our gut?
Well, your gut's kind of providing the raw materials for everywhere else. So I guess then they get built up. Haven't really thought about it that way. Yeah. But it's magic how it all gets made.
So
the neurotransmitters.
How did they find that we had serotonin in our stomachs and not our brain?
Well, I think you've got the neurohormonal system where you've got the peptide, like the amino acids, the peptides, and then the neurotransmitters. And what we know is that it's two-way from the gut to the brain and back again. So we used to think that the brain did everything. And so the brain would send messages, and that was how the whole system works. But actually there's more messages from the gut to the brain. Right. And then you've got the hormonal systems as well. So, and those are not necessarily through the bloodstream. So you've got all of these different messages going around. And I guess when the gut microbiome work was discovered, so for example, bifidobacteria create GABA. So the bacteria are creating these neurotransmitters as well. And the bifidobacteria, which, as we know from Dr. Sabine Hazan, she's seen a massive decrease in bifidobacteria with the COVID jabs, right? So, they just glitched out.
Right.
And so we've already had this whole fear campaign, but then also GABA, which is one of your relaxing brain chemicals, is not there because you haven't got any bifidobacteria anymore. So you can't relax, you can't settle. So
and the bifidobacteria is what helps you relax and settle.
The GABA, the gamma-aminobutyric acid neurotransmitter, is made by the bifidobacteria.
In your gut?
In your gut.
My question is, where do those bacteria come from? Do we acquire them over our lifetime from things we eat? Or is
you
it
get
made?
the initial priming as you come through the birth canal, and so that's an important part of it. But then also breastfeeding, and the initial breast milk is like a primer for those bugs to grow and thrive, and you get microbes through the breast milk. So there's a breast milk microbiome.
All right, ladies out there, if you want to donate a titty,
You're back to that again.
It's for health.
Oh,
it is for health purposes only. I am more than happy to increase my gut microbiome. But is there a way to, now, as an adult?
Donations.
Well, no. I don't mean this in a sexual or gross way. I mean in a legitimate way. To get an influx, would that mean I need to source someone's breast milk or wherever they're made?
Yeah. So what can be done now? So whatever point people have got to with their gut and their gut health, obviously we got to that point where we learnt about probiotics. So people learnt about, the lactobacilli, the yogurt and all of that kind of stuff. But actually what we need to do is not just pop those in, because you can take a capsule of probiotics and, that will last maybe up to 2 weeks or something.
Yep.
So you've got to feed those as well. But what we've learnt about prebiotics, which is where the recipe books and things like that come in, is we need enough of prebiotic-like foods to feed you good bacteria. So
if you put a seed in a plant pot, you can't just chuck sand in there and hope it grows.
Exactly. It's exactly like gardening.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great concept to sort of think about it, because if your soil's really shit in the first stage, you're just not going to grow anything. So, and the care and attention that real gardeners go to, where, they might soak the seeds and then put them in good potting mix and then put them, where they're going to be in the garden. And every step of the way it's similar in the system. We need clay, we need minerals, we need the gut lining to be healthy. And the prebiotic type foods are the things that will feed your whole system. So we have to consider it like an ecosystem as well. So it is that ecosystem comparative where, it's the whole system, and you need it working in harmony. You need it working in balance. So it's not good, bad, that kind of a thing. It's actually there's this whole system, and there's cross-feeding mechanisms. So, people got onto all of the, there was the kombucha, and then there was the fermented foods and this, that and the other, and apple cider vinegar and this, that. So, when you have those things, there's prebiotics, probiotics and postbiotics.
Isn't postbiotics just poo?
No, it's
the product
apple cider
makes?
vinegar stuff. So it's the acetates and those kinds of things.
Okay.
So you've got those as well that are then feeding the colonocytes, the colonic cells, and keeping them healthy. So that's,
So where does it all begin, right? It begins in our mouth and then down our esophagus. And then is it the stomach where it starts, or is it the small intestine, large intestine? Where is all this biotic stuff happening?
So the gut microbiome really, it's more about the large intestine. That's where you've got your thriving trillions of friendly, like your friends or foes, bacteria. So, you've got the other levels of digestion, and I would say it starts before you're eating, because traditionally, of course, we would have smelt the food cooking. We would have been in the general vicinity of, oh, Mum, you're making that lovely Sunday roast, or, whatever you can feel through your senses. And obviously you've got your celebrity chefs doing the plating and making it look really beautiful and that kind of thing. But really that sensory, the smells and the tastes and tasting the food as it going along, plus really the love with which it's made. So, you go to nonnas or you go to grannies or you go to your mums, and it's like, they've created and made this food for your nourishment because they love you, and the love that goes into the food as well.
Food is love in Italian culture.
Yeah,
if you don't finish your plate, well, you're not loving on that. I'm like, I love you. I'm just full. I've had 85 plates of pasta.
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
The when it comes to the health of the gut, and you were talking about pre and pro. So I'm sure that with the pre, that would not only be you're putting in healthy foods, but it's some of the foods you're putting in are damaging. And so what's the
so
scenario?
The do's and don'ts.
Yeah,
kind
correct.
Of a thing.
So what's going to help and what's going to stop from damaging it?
Yeah. So the help is the organic variety, like slow foods, like your local, your organic, like whole foods kind of scenario. And the don'ts are like your glyphosate, as you talked with recently with Rod Cullerton, I think, about the glyphosate being an absolute killer of your gut microbes.
Yeah, I've seen some worrying trends with the correlation, and
between
as we know, correlation doesn't equal causation. But the
with
use
autism,
of and amongst
and chronic disease.
a number of chronic diseases, as they've upped it and down, it's gone the exact same trends, and that is.
Well, it definitely needs investigate. Like whether correlation is causation or not, it needs investigating, right? Like it's like we've seen this. So
and this is this potentially why carnivore is actually having a positive impact, because you're avoiding things like glyphosate?
Well, I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I think that because of the seed oils as well, which, as you know, toxic seed oils, all with the tick of approval from the Heart Foundation.
Well, this is a thing that was given to me by a friend who was like, we came to a common agreement on the health situation around the world that, whole foods largely is what should be happening. And I suggested, seed oils are the devil. And he sent me an article saying, well, no, seed oils aren't that bad. Bang, 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 like this. And I looked at that, and the guy that he sent me, Dr. Eads, or I can't remember what his name is.
Dr. Even.
Dr. Eads or whatever. He actually does a lot of takedowns on Chafee as well. But he suggested, no, there's nothing wrong with seed oils. He didn't suggest they're healthy. He just said they follow certain levels of being approved as they're not damaging or dangerous. But
I would have thought naturally back in the day, if we had seeds, we would be able to eat them, right? Like
it's the process.
Well, you would think so, but it's the high processing. So I think it's the extraction and all the chemicals and all the stuff that needs to be done to it to make it something.
So the artificial
and also,
part of it.
I mean, as you know, what happens commercially. The wastage from one industry gets thrown into, the food system or the water system So, but actually, like even round about 3% of bad seed oils can be messing up your membrane. So every cell has a double phospholipid layer, and every mitochondrial membrane, like mitochondria are made out of all these membranes as well, and you need really good fats for that. You need choline, you need phospholipids. Like there's all these things that you need for your membranes, and your membranes are the signaling system as well. So for the hormones to signal to your cells what to do, you need really good membranes, and that's part of the problem with the diabetes epidemic that we've got, is that you've got high insulin and the messages are not getting to the cells to kind of use up glucose or whatever. So, we've got the human body is an incredible healing system, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you've got nasty, glitchy things going in that are messing up the messages, and they're also encasing the cells in, say, sugar. So when the insulin doesn't work, you've got too much glucose lying around, and then everything's sticky, if you want to think of it like that. So there's too much glucose, and also you're storing glucose as fat in long-term storage that you then can't get to. So it's like a bank account that you've shut off that you're not kind of getting into.
One world order.
Yeah.
And then that, in women, like cellulite's everybody's enemy. So it's like cellulite and excess fat that you just can't seem to get rid of. So, so a lot of people, to come back to what the actual question was, like go on carnivore, and because they've cut out all the junk foods, all the rubbish foods. So when you go on carnivore, like you're just on meat, and if you've got really good quality meat, I think that would be really important, because you've got to have the grass-fed and finished and the organic and the regen ag and all of that sort of stuff. So you've got then those good fats with vitamin A, with vitamin D, with all the dissolved things in them, because your animals are obviously converting like the vegetarian foods into meat that you can then eat, and then that nourishes you.
It makes it more bioavailable, would it?
Makes it bioavailable, I think.
And
so
delicious.
Yeah.
Most importantly.
there you
tastes
go.
delicious.
Yeah.
What was that? I seen a meme the other day. Scientists have come up with this new thing that can turn vegetables into a nutritious source of vitamins.
Yeah, it's called a cow.
Exactly. And we've seen that the cows are not eating the Bovier contaminated food now as well. Those
yes,
whatever that
the
nasty,
flatulence.
Stop cow farts, that sort of stuff. So the cows are getting sick from the Bovier. Surprise to people. It's like,
Okay, so very broadly speaking,
so we're getting
to avoid it, we want to avoid things with glyphosate, junk foods, processed foods in general.
Easy to say. You need a manual though, because every person, your lay person, doesn't know what's got seed oils or what's processed.
Well, this is why you come back to a whole food, but then that's the scary thing, because if I go right, well, I'll just live whole foods, which I do.
It takes so much effort these days.
Well,
right?
It's the meat that costs them.
And
like vegetables are cheap as fuck, but then the issue I've found with vegetables is the glyphosate. And so, I'm whole foods, great,
which is
perfect.
the best way to do.
What am I doing there? How do I avoid that? How do you shop organically? Then the price does go.
Price is insane. It's very difficult to eat healthily on a budget.
Well, in the course that I put together, I talk about the what is it? The Dirty Dozen Clean 15. So the Dirty
I've seen
Dozen.
that category.
Yeah. Been to the shop where you get the paper bags.
Yeah.
So the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 is like the things that are the most sprayed, like things like strawberries. You want to buy those organic because the amount of spraying that happens. So that's in the Dirty Dozen category, and it changes every year. So you need to just look it up.
Okay.
And then the Clean 15 is, I think avocados are on there, but obviously, as I said, it changes every year. So things that you can buy non-organic that are not problematic.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
That's helpful.
Yeah, so that's an easy thing for anybody to do, right?
All right. So
and
the Dirty
Dozen Clean 15.
Oh, I like that. Cool.
Yeah,
I'll be Googling that.
be doing that.
So these are the things to avoid and to have if you want to remain on the whole foods.
Or just to know that buy the Dirty Dozen whole food and Clean 15 as a general rule is okay in your supermarkets.
Yeah. And I think, some of the root vegetables can tend to be contaminated because they're only done with NPK fertilizers, and our government in its wisdom has allowed more cadmium to be allowed in the NPK fertilizers, which is a contaminant, which is a toxic heavy metal, which we don't want to be taking in, and it's a hormone disruptor as well, cadmium. So like your carrots and your potatoes, you probably want to get from the farmer's market, organic stall, that kind of a thing.
So is that, and when you think like locally for us, like the Spud Shed, for example, is that locally? Is that just too broad? Do you have to literally go to the markets?
Well, I think I mean, for the things that you want to buy organic, so the things that are on the contaminated list, then you want to buy organic. And I don't know, depends. I know Spudshed does have some organic stuff there. And, the other aspect to all of that, of course, is supporting your local farmers, because we really need to support the local farmers these days, don't we? And so, yeah.
So does organic or whole food mean you go to where the market gardens are and you buy it straight out of the thing, or do you have to go to
it depends if they're using sprays. You need to find out if they're using sprays, because just because they're local and those places, they may be
they do
the shit
list
out of it as well.
There is organic markets as well. Right. So I know when I went to the Wanneroo markets last and I was looking for it, there was a stall that was specifically all organic.
Yeah.
A bit more, quite a bit more expensive.
In your major shopping centres, do they have organic? Because the ones I'm thinking of are the ones that are like the health shops that have got the protein and all your little trinkets, but it doesn't have vegetables and food. In your major shopping centres.
Oh, you're thinking supplements and
if I wouldn't even know where to go.
Yeah, so I mean, it depends what suburb you're in, but I guess more like the greengrocer type places, and then see what you've got in your local area. I think there's more organic stuff is available, but also there's a lot of growers that can't afford to get that tick of I'm fully organic, or the ones that are in conversion, and so it's about knowing your source, isn't it? It's about finding out what has been done to this, or is it unsprayed, or is it as good as it can get? And so you want less sprayed things.
Now,
and
obviously with the cost of living crisis,
absolutely.
it's so easy to go to Coles and Woolworths.
I'd be IGA.
IGA.
Yeah. Well, we know about the price gouging with Coles and Woolies and their facial recognition stuff and things like that. So I think what we want to do is support local as well.
Is IGA local, is it?
Fruit and veg.
Independent grocers, so they're...
But
that's why it's more expensive as well. But the issue
I don't think IGA is more expensive.
But
it's
definitely more expensive.
It's probably more expensive in Cottesloe. And
when I go to the local, it'll be $3 or $4 more for blueberries and stuff like that. So
than Coles.
Coles, yeah. So you'll go get $4 for a punnet, and then it's $8 at IGA, and you're like, fucking hell. It's
actually, I did find at Spudshed organic blueberries that were a good price.
Cool.
And so I think that's the seasonal. So in the slow food, the seasonal things are going to be best for you anyway, because you're following that,
natural
planetary chronobiology.
And now the other issue is, you're just going to keep going to Coles and Woolies, which we're not recommending. But let's say people keep going to there. Can they do something about what they've purchased, clean them in a certain way?
Well, Coles and Woolies do have a little organic section, so you might actually get some organic stuff from there. And there are different things that you can soak your veg and stuff in. But the thing is, it's not just on the surface. Yeah. If it's been grown in the environment where there's, say, toxic heavy metals, like I mentioned, cadmium, that's going to be in the whole thing. It's not something you can necessarily wash off. If stuff's just got sprayed, like if you've got apples and they've got sprayed and that, then maybe you can get layers of that off, right?
And how do we do that?
I think people probably have to look it up, but I think apple cider vinegar, and there are some particular
I've seen the wax on apples
that you can get. Yeah, the wax
when you boil. Yeah.
But also there's some Bill Gates thing that he's now getting put on apples as well.
Microchips.
Probably mRNA.
Yeah, it could be. But so I mean, I think there are products that people can buy that will clear off an amount of that stuff, so that is worthwhile doing.
Who's that dude that sent me a couple of times? Is it bicarb soda and water, and you just soak it in, and all the worms and shit come out? Have you sent me that?
No, I haven't sent you, but I've seen things
it's like
similar.
Strawberries and stuff, and I think it's like bicarb soda and water.
Yeah,
and then after 15 minutes, all the worms and all the sorts of shit come out.
I don't even want to think about that. I might stick to meat for a while.
I think we're going to be talking about a bit of fasting, though.
Well, so before we get on to fast, because I am very interested in fasting, so we've talked about sort of what to avoid and maybe how to avoid it.
Yeah, and
what should we be
towards.
What should we be eating to help promote that and
yeah,
heal
so
it?
I mean, I think, well, what I learned from Dr. Jason Horolak, so he's like a bit of a king of the microbiome, and he's a researcher naturopath. And so his concept is 40 different plant foods a week. So that's like, whoa, overwhelming, don't want to do that. But actually, when you consider it, if you're eating 3 times a day, it's like 2 or 3, plant foods per meal, that kind of a thing. So it's not such a big deal. And then if you get things that have variety, so if you're going to eat carrots, you might eat the standard orange ones, but you might get the purple ones and those yellow ones. Like you can get different varieties of things, like those heirloom type things. And again, depending on seasonal, you might find more variety with all of that. And then, of course, adding herbs and spices, that's still plant food as well, and
KFC.
herbal teas. And so, sorry?
KFC. We've got it.
Make your own
Because I know there's
KFC.
11 there.
Yeah. How many herbs and spices?
Only 29 left.
Yeah.
Okay.
So things like garlic, really important for the gut microbiome. Things like sage and rosemary. And, like you see the French and they put in the bouquet garni when they make a broth or a soup or a pot of food. So, whatever herbs and spices go in that, along with garlic, and these things are about really the health of the gut microbiome. But it's come from ancient times. It's not like we've invented this. It's like this is something traditionally people have done for X amount of years. And
Bay leaves, for example. Like I'm
Yeah,
always
bay
like, take the
leaves. I
fucking
know.
bay leaves out.
What
I always want
bay
to.
leaves would be your friend,
You're very
because
good,
bay
yeah.
leaves actually help to reduce the gas producing that occurs with food.
Now, would you?
So that's why bay leaves need to go, like if you're making a bean or lentil-y thing, having bay leaves and cumin and those kinds of herbs and spices are really beneficial, because it takes that sort of wind activating thing.
Would you need to eat the bay leaf, or because I always take it out, obviously.
You don't have to eat.
I just hate it when people leave it in. I'm like,
It's just
fucking.
I don't want leaves in my food.
And please tell me coriander's fucked.
Well, they probably thought bay leave it in. Like one bay leaf.
Yeah, please.
What have
coriander,
you got against coriander? You just don't like
I
it.
hate the taste.
Yeah.
Tastes like soap.
Yeah.
Mine's 50-50.
Oh,
Sometimes it's all right. Sometimes it's fucked.
I'll have a good green curry over in Thailand, and I'll be
I
like,
love Thai
fuck
food.
In the Vietnamese rice roll, that's where like sometimes it can ruin it.
there was a sade dish the other night. I was like, oh, how beautiful, and then got that little bit of coriander. I was like, is it good for you? Please.
Depends who you are. So this comes back to biological individuality. So this is another interesting aspect. So, this is where some people will be carnivore and they'll be fine. Some people will be vegetarian and they'll be fine. And, if you cross from one to the other, it doesn't necessarily work. So
It's not one size fits all.
Exactly. So it's never one size fits all. And you got your age and stage of life as well. So like, how would a pregnant woman or an elderly nonagenarian eat the same thing as you would, for example? Do you know what I mean?
Hang on, I thought
It's like, it's
mRNA
insane.
technology was one size fits
Well,
all.
it is one size fits all. That's why it doesn't work. Well, one of the reasons. Hey?
Yeah.
So it's a bit like people need to get back to tuning into who they are, and this is where we get into health sovereignty, which is a favorite thing of mine. Is like, we need to really tune into that gut feeling and kind of go, is this right for me? Is it working for me? Okay, I tried that trend, but what does this body at this point in time really want? You know?
Because it might not necessarily in 10 years be the same.
It won't be the same in 10 years' time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So age and stage of life. So, in the traditional systems, like when you're a baby and you've got massive growth going on, and that's important because you're growing your brain, you're growing all of the, organ systems, and that massive spurt of growth needs supporting, and so you need all those calorie laden foods, right? But then, you know, in the older phase of life, you're trying to maintain muscle and muscle tone and not end up sort of losing and wasting away. So different foods at different times and easier to process. So coming back to the idea of broths and soups and stuff. And so, you know, there are reasons why elderly people might do well on broths and soups and stuff. You can get so much nourishment into a one-pot thing. But, you know...
Damn it. Because I've been eating a lot of soups and broths lately. Am I
Well,
getting old?
Well, it may be because your digestion's not strong and you like it's easy for you to process that, right?
And can you make your digestion stronger?
Yeah. Ginger is a real key to that.
I need that for when I have magic mushrooms because my stomach goes bananas.
What, do you get hungry?
Not on
Is it
bananas.
like you
No,
get hungry
pain.
or is it, pain.
Massive
And
pain.
you've got...
Anytime I've had mushrooms,
you got
magic
Blazing
ones,
Swan this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring some
you
ginger.
got-
Smash
Yeah.
some ginger.
My stomach, I don't know if it's a mushroom showing me that my gut's fucked. Like I need to fix it. But a lot of people that I've spoken to get
You
similar.
watch now. You get on the,
The
shrooms
mushrooms
this
are
weekend. And
talking.
Yeah, well, they
Allegedly.
always show me my stomach and my back scapula where it's all fucked.
yeah, back scapula, I get the same
Yeah.
thing a lot.
That
But
can be gallbladder and liver stuff.
Okay.
yeah.
What does a gallbladder even do? We've gone a little off topic, but I just hear it all
We're
the time.
always gonna
Does it
go
produce
onto liver
bile? Is that
trains
what
as well.
gallbladder does?
Yeah, no, it concentrates it. So your liver creates the bile, and then the gallbladder is sitting there concentrating it. And so when you have the really fatty meal, then it goes
Oh, yeah.
squirt that,
Okay.
and you know, then you can emulsify all of that fat and get all the goodies out of it. So, you know, like in the past, as you know, like fat was bad, and now it's good again. But you need the bile to emulsify that fat and get the best out of it. So that's important.
But
And
ginger is good for metabolism.
ginger is such a good all-rounder for digestion in general,
Okay.
but like it increases your, what we call in Ayurveda, your digestive fire, so your stomach acid production, your capacity to digest the foods that are going in. So when it just goes into your stomach, you know, it should be going into that acid bath and getting broken down, that initial breakdown and protein breakdown in particular. And so ginger is really good for that. But it's also, like, it's good for so many things. It also helps the peristalsis, like the movement of the whole gut as well. So, you know, many uses of ginger.
Yep.
What about things like, so what damage is being caused by things like coffee?
There's so much
stimulants?
conflicting evidence.
Yeah.
There's so much
Yeah,
conflicting
because that's
research.
about the one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
That's about, like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, is your... So there's the pathways in the liver, and depending on which pathways are slower or faster, you'll either be like, oh yeah, coffee for Italians, like I'll have that late at night and I'll go straight to sleep. And other cultures,
Other
like,
weaker cultures.
will be like, bing, I'm up all night because I've had coffee.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't mean to do that. And
And then alcohol.
So then
what is that doing to our gut?
yeah,
I
so
don't- I
then your
don't wanna-
espresso martini, you can fuck everything up.
Yeah, both.
Yeah. So what? I'm very.
In history, we've used alcohol to preserve things.
That's
right?
what I mean.
So
So
it's like there is a
fermentation and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so,
what are you preserving in there?
yeah, preserving my gut health.
Yeah.
So
So
I'm just drinking this vodka to preserve.
just fermenting some olives.
Yeah.
So what damage is alcohol doing to our gut health?
I mean, I think there's so many different things, aren't there? I mean, if we look back, like when people drank ale and it was low alcohol and it had microbes in it, so a bit more like towards the kombucha end of the scale, where, you know, I mean, kombucha is really interesting, right? So you've got the scobies creating this incredible health drink, and it's a fermented thing, but it doesn't have alcohol left in it, but it has beneficial effects potentially on your gut, depending on who you are. Whereas the other end of the spectrum is these alcohols that are high alcohol, but also a lot of drinks now have also got the contamination of the glyphosate and all the other chemicals in
From
them.
the wheat
So
and
it's
the
like,
yeast.
well, so whatever else has been used,
Yeah.
and all the sprays and the chemicals that have. So, you know, again, are we going to look at organic wines, or are we going to look at no gluten beers, or are we going to look at, so it's all of those different
probiotic beers. Are there any probiotic alcohol drinks?
Probiotic beers.
Yeah,
Maybe we've got a market.
Yeah.
There,
Is there a thing?
A friend of mine.
Or does the alcohol kill it?
No, that's because we looked into it because when we were presented with this idea of alcohol, I was like, I wonder if you could do a kombucha alcohol. It's already a thing, but definitely could.
Yeah.
I'm drinking for my guy.
Yeah, I'm drinking. But
more isn't necessarily better.
A friend of mine, a friend of mine mixes kombucha as their mix. With vodka.
So that's an idea.
Well, it'd be interesting though, because if alcohol damages the
I don't think they're doing it for health. I think they're just doing it for a healthier mixer rather
than lemonade or sugar stuff or stuff like that. So you got like a lower sugar thing with an alcohol thing. So I guess it's making those combinations. I mean, that'd be fantastic to have a bar where you could actually have,
organic
like
kombucha shots,
totally health-giving drinks and mixes and stuff like that.
It's like, come to our healthy bar. What are you serving? Water.
It's out of the table. It's not even.
Come to our bar and we're doing fasting. So we're not going to offer you anything at all.
Well,
come on our retreat.
The fasting bar.
Let's come to fasting because I'm very interested. I assume that's what going raw vegan and going carnivore would be eliminating what damaging things we're putting into our body to a certain extent, and I'd say fasting would be a heightened example of that. Is that all that's happening with fasting?
Well, fasting, so it takes into account things like chronobiology. So different people need different timing of their meals. So, for example, you might have people that really fit very well with fasting and it works really well for them and they feel fantastic and it actually helps them to eliminate stuff and it powers up their brain on the ketones and that kind of a thing. So certain body types that would work really well for. And then at the other end of the spectrum, you've got the people that get absolutely hangry if they haven't been fed regularly and through the day. So
can you change that? Because I definitely suffered hangry the first time I ever did a 24-hour fast. And now I can do a 24-hour fast like nothing and it's all good.
Yeah, and I didn't feel the clarity of mind. People said when I did my 10-day fast, I didn't feel any sharper. I just was like...
You did a juice fast though, hey? So I don't know if that would... Well,
it depends what goes into it, doesn't it? Because you could do veg juices or you could be adding fruit and then you're getting a big mass of fructose going to your brain.
Yeah, I just had orange juice and lemon juice.
Yeah, my experience with fasting is more when it comes to clarity. I don't feel that sharpness either, but I feel no dips. I don't feel any... I don't feel heightened. Same when I'm carnivore, actually, to be fair. I never get a dip in energy levels. It's just sort of like, and you're never like, oh my God, I feel incredible. It's just like this constant feeling
flatlining.
So I don't know.
I think the most important thing for everybody to know about fasting is to have a spell between dinner and when you're going to sleep, like have a decent amount of time there. So you alluded to that earlier, but like, the optimal, what they're saying now for brain health, prevention of Alzheimer's and all of that kind of thing is like 3 hours between dinner and bedtime.
Okay.
And you can also speed up like your processing of food by going for a walk because like that movement actually just sort of helps to get the processing happening.
So I guess my question to you is this. If I eat at 11 o'clock at night but I'm not sleeping till 1, is that the same?
Yeah, but
because
that may
I'm then not eating until 1 o'clock the next day, say, because I'll sleep till 8 or 9, get up, and I don't eat until 1. Is that the same effect, or is it?
Do you mean the overnight fast or 11 till 1 when you're going to? So like you. So
say I have show until 10 and I eat at 10:30, 11. Yeah. I'm not going to bed until 1 o'clock.
Yeah, so you've got a couple of hours there to allow it to process, but you said that it didn't feel that great.
Yeah, so, it still feels
so
gluggy,
you might need 3 hours or something.
Right.
So I guess it's just playing that by ear and just making sure that you get the food as soon as you finish your show, that kind of a thing. But
And do you need food after though? Could you?
I do quite often feel, but also part of me is like maybe it's a reward for doing a good show, and I'm like, I'm going to reward myself.
Like could you eat it? Could you eat at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening before you go on stage?
Yeah, I can do that. Ideally, about an hour before a show, but
That's what I mean. That's what because I'm the same. Like during Fringe, you're leaving at 11, 12 every night. And you're like, what am I going to do? So I was eating before I headed in, and then some nights I just wouldn't. I'd eat it like depends. 4 because you're going in quite early, and then just you deal with it. But I don't know if that's a good thing either, going that long.
Well, I think again we want to really be tuning in. Because, for me, if I'm, because I'm in a choir and like doing speaking things and stuff like that, I don't want to eat before I do those things. And I definitely get hungry afterwards. But it's because of that sort of being performance ready or like that sympathetic dominance. So again, it's that sympathetic, parasympathetic. And as we know, the sympathetic nervous system, that's your fight or flight system versus your rest and digest system. Like it's a seesaw. Like one's working, the other's working. It's not like you can throw food in and expect it to be digested if you're ready to run, right? Yeah. So, it's so, for performing, if you're about to do a performance, you're not going to get your best digestion. And also if you're hyped up, emotionally, like if you're angry, you're not going to digest well either.
Or even like hyped up, like after a show when you've done really well, like I find after performing, you suddenly get hungry again, don't you? Because you actually you tune back into your body after kind of putting energy out there. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of go, oh, that's all over.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like for women, for me and for women often, like you're getting up in the morning, you're getting the kids' stuff ready, you're getting the kids to school. And then like what I found was by the time I got to work and started seeing people, then the hunger kicked in because I was like,
fight or flight with the kids,
I've already done my work day of getting the kids to where they need to be. I've made their food and like dropped them off and, whatever other swimming deal they've got to do and all that. And so like you kind of settle a bit neurologically and from your adrenal perspective. And then you get to kind of like, now I can have my, so I started taking my food to work so that I could do that before I started seeing people. Yeah. Yeah. Well, so it's all of those timing things. Yeah. It's like tuning into your body. What is it ready to take in food or not,
And broadly speaking, because we have work hours 9 to 5, so a lot of people, not everyone is like this, obviously. But if you go the 9 to 5.
Yeah, exactly.
I hear a lot about intermittent fasting. It's definitely been one of the things that I've enjoyed the most. One, if I have a coffee, does that break the fast? Depending whether
depends what's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think coffee, just plain, absolutely black coffee, I don't think that does. There's still people that argue. Well, people will always argue. But I don't think that breaks the fast. But if you're going to do sugar and cream and honey and all this stuff in it,
I always do black coffee with a little bit of milk.
That's what I do. Right. So is that breaking the?
Yeah, it depends on the proportions, I suppose.
But I've always found
7/8 black coffee and water, 1/8 milk is what I do.
That's what I do. Just
a little bit. Do you want me to work this out for you right now?
Yeah.
But I mean, I like the 16-hour sort of. I think that's quite achievable for a lot of people.
Yeah, and you work up to it, like you said. You might people will be like, "Oh, I'm excited about all of this. I've heard about this. I'm going to do it," and then they're like, especially for women, like 3 days of fasting, and you're just like, I can't.
Well, if you do like the intermittent
fasting, but if you work up to it, so people can start with 12 and 12, right?
Yeah.
And that's a really good start.
A friend of mine's doing that.
You can do 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. Really easy.
Yeah, well, and this is the thing.
That's a simple start.
Yeah. I used to do that at work when I was sheet metal. Our smoke was at 10:30, so I'd make sure I'd eat at 6:30, and that's 16 hours. And I was like, bang, fucking perfect. And I just wouldn't have breakfast.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm starting at 5 anyway, so you're sort of getting through to 10:30, and so it wasn't difficult.
That works,
at all because it was just.
If you can timetable it in, it's fantastic. And I think the biggest thing is people snacking after dinner in the evening when they need nothing and they need that 3-hour window. So you want that's one of the key things I think is that 3-hour fasting window after dinner. Yeah, so do something else. Yeah. Go for a walk, talk to your friends, read a book.
Make some love and you have 2 hours 59 spare.
Use some energy. Yay.
What about something like a soup or a bone broth or something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Would that, if you're snacky at sort of 8 o'clock before, 9 o'clock before
or
bed.
even like if you want to do your gut good, like maybe a peppermint tea or a chamomile tea. And apparently a chamomile tea with a spoon of honey is enough to help you to get to sleep because you got enough. Because you actually need enough calories to go to sleep.
Yeah,
right?
that's a good thing because as well, like mentally, you're having something, you're doing something, and then the thing that you're doing is going to be beneficial.
Yeah, because that's what I was doing during carnivore. I wanted a sweet, and I'd have I could have a bone broth, and it, for whatever reason would
and a bone broth can be great.
You feel full.
Yeah, because it's enough volume. So there's the volume thing to that.
So
whereas for other people, it's more like I need something sweet in my mouth, and you know that could be some couple of squares of.
Well, this is where you invest in my next product that I've invented. I'm calling it the stop box.
The stop box.
The stop box. So you get a box. It's a box with a lock on it. And you put all your sweets and all your bad stuff in it, and then to open it up, you've got an app on your phone that changes the code each day, and it will ask you why are you eating instead of locking out. So it makes you think before that next step.
Idea.
Yeah.
So I'm going to create.
That's exactly it.
Because
the time to tune into yourself and learn from yourself is kind of like, okay, so
are you emotionally eating?
And I think a lot of it is, you know, like, do I actually need company or do I need do I need connection? Do I need oxytocin? Am I looking for oxytocin through my food?
Yeah.
You know?
It's such a good idea because it's also not denying discipline because...
it's not saying you can't have this. It's just going...
Think about
ask you the question
here
first.
Is the discipline.
And then, okay, cool.
Because if you were to just lock it up, you don't have the code, you can't do it. You'll want it, but
that's
you
punishment.
can't. And that's not discipline. That's just like... Whereas this is like making you question and go, oh, you're right. Actually, I'm only having this because I'm bored. Maybe I do go for a walk. Maybe I engage with someone. Maybe I
and in the
watch
app,
something.
Bring up different suggestions. In
Call
the
a
app.
friend.
So
Like get a bone broth.
Yeah.
What do you want to call it? Stop box.
Stop box.
Stop box.
All right, I'll delete this so no one takes your idea. It's a good idea, man.
Yeah, I think it's got legs. Yeah.
And some of those are the reflection materials that I've added into the program that I've launched on my Stan site.
So back on that bone broth, for example, as an idea, that doesn't take away from that 2 or 3 hours prior to going to sleep, or that's in.
Well, it's not fully fasting then, I guess, is it?
No.
But you know, it depends what time you're having it. So I think you know, for me, I need to have to not eat after 8.
Yep.
You know, preferably have a full meal, say 6:37, something like that. But then if I kind of feel a bit more of something or other.
I eat very early now because of Scotty.
Yeah, kids.
Because of Scotty, and just like, I'm not setting up twice and just bang it down. But then you do get to that point at like, I ate at 5. I'm a little peckish now.
Well, also because you've relaxed, you see. You've relaxed. You've put the kids to bed, or you've done whatever in the evening or whatever bits and pieces.
Out of the fight or flight mode.
Yeah, you're out of fight or flight, and then you're relaxing, and you're like, I could do the little bit of block of...
Well, chocolate's mine.
Chocolate's
bad,
fantastic.
and I've been trying to not
no,
deny.
chocolate is good. Chocolate is good.
Yeah.
It's just the
Don't
quality.
fucking tell me that.
Quality chocolate.
Okay,
quality chocolate.
Oh, you're saying Cadbury's? Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
We're not sponsored.
Oh,
enough
Quality
for that.
Street.
A part of me goes...
That's such an ironically named thing.
Yeah, well...
Badly named.
There's a part of me that tries to not remove it because it is that thing of discipline.
Otherwise it's like...
Well, because it's the discipline.
The
it's
stop box is for you.
Yes, exactly.
No, it's the denial.
Yes.
It's denying yourself.
But also by having it there, by not having it there, I just used to rid myself of it and I wouldn't want it. But when it's there...
Yes, you're thinking about it. You're like, there's a fucking chocolate in the
fridge.
And
I asked Grace the other day, fucking get rid of it. Stop fucking bringing it. Stop bringing it. She does hide some as well. But a part of me is like, no. Have the discipline to say no. But I can't.
Dude,
chocolate is the one.
No, because that's you punishing yourself.
But it's not.
I know if I've got it there, it's been eaten. It doesn't matter.
God.
If it's there, I'll have like the first block, eat that and go, just a bit more, boom. And I go, I've already had half.
Yeah, that's exactly
I might as
right.
well have the other half.
No.
Or if I put it
this
back,
is-
I'll go, there's
okay.
only another half there.
Here's the variation on the
Yeah.
stop box then, is like you put it in the bottom of the drawer in the fridge with your vegetables, and you have to eat all the vegetables
to
before
get
you
to it.
have- Yeah. And then you've had your 40 different foods.
Yeah, the 40 different plants. Yeah.
Well, Delby just put a KFC in there for his
Yeah,
11
11
herbs and
herbs.
spices.
The worst is like on the packet, it's like, to share. I'm like, you have severely underestimated. This is not to share, buddy.
I'll have
Yeah,
a-
why do they call
Peel
it
to
family?
share.
Family?
Yeah, family, yeah.
Yeah, me and Danny we'll go for a run and we'll have a good healthy meal after the run, and we've been healthy all week, and then we'll bang down a block of chocolate
Yeah,
each
straight out.
minimum, and a fucking bottle of Coke, and you're like, what have I done?
Yeah. It's that reward versus like, that's
you
why people
fed
go,
back
if you
that
go do
stuff.
something good,
Yeah.
then you go, I've done the run, I'll reward. So it's
But
fun.
here's that social training is like kids' birthday parties, right?
Yeah.
It's like poison your children
Yes.
every year.
Well, and this is the thing, like when your grandparents, they'll go like, I had,
you gotta treat them.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
lollies when I was young, and they're like, yeah, you did. You didn't have these lollies.
Yeah.
Those
Yeah.
lollies were gelatin and sugar.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Your lollies were
And you
sweet
run around
carrots.
and you process it out.
Yeah, your McDonald's chips were potatoes and salt.
Yeah.
This is 38
Well, yeah, and
ingredients.
Gallo,
and
what's
in
it called?
lard
Yeah.
rather
Yeah,
than rather than the poison. The
Yeah.
poison
Correct. So
fats.
even the processed foods 20, 30 years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah,
even the ones we
that's
grew
right.
up with to a
Yeah,
point,
yeah.
weren't that bad. They weren't great, but they weren't that bad. And now we're seeing it. It's just
yeah.
So
ridiculous.
I guess
It's
we-
like they've addicted people to that stuff and made it
incrementally.
incrementally and also socially, from people being more and more busy, and like there isn't mum at home doing the cooking, and so mum's out to work as well, and nobody's home doing that stuff, and then so it's like, oh God, if I don't do this, I'm not going to eat, or you're hungry or whatever. So, all of these different threads have come together to make that happen, and then things have been made from what would have been, like you say, in the past, like fish and chips cooked in lard or whatever. And now it's like more and more and more unhealthy.
Yeah. And then so back to the fasting. What is
back to the fasting.
What is it doing to heal, or what is it doing with regards to our gut health?
Well, it's allowing time for processing. So that's one thing. So instead of just constantly throwing stuff in that then has to be processed, and your gut's like, oh God, another thing. Like I've only just dealt with the last stuff that you put in.
Yeah.
And so it's giving that capacity for rest. So 3 hours between meals allows the peristalsis to kind of be working, and there's a cleaning system that kicks in in 3 hours between meals. So you've also got release of bile and release of chemicals to kind of clean through your system. But the reason for 3 hours between dinner and bedtime is about the glymphatic system. So the cells, the immune cells that go and clean the brain overnight. So clearing out there as well. So, because this, the human body is this incredible healing instrument. And so, there are all these systems that actually kick in and kick out, clock on and clock off. And if we can work with that clocking system, the chronobiology, then everything's going to work more effectively, more efficiently. And so after any amount of fasting, you've got beneficial effects. And so even if people start with, okay, I'm not going to eat after a certain time so that I've got more fasting time before bedtime, before I sleep, but also, like you say, that overnight fast, expanding that through the start of the morning as well. And so there's healing that occurs in the gut, there's healing that occurs, it's like you can switch on this system that's clearing up any dodgy cells that have gone bad, which,
is it macrophagy or whatever that is? Or is that just something?
Yeah. So that the phages that go around and clear up cancer cells or other immune cells that have gone wrong, or whatever else in the system is not working so well. So I think there's multiple things that kick in depending on how long you're fasting for, right? So, different phases, you get different benefits. I don't hold all of that in my head.
And ketosis is a part of that.
Well,
so ketogenesis is part of that. So,
I heard you can have this almost similar effects of fasting if you've got your ketogenesis.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I was listening to the 4 Hour Body, Tim Weiss, I think it was, and one of the scientists on there said,
and Chafee said it on here.
that like you don't necessarily have to fast. It was it mimics a fast, so you can sort of still have your food.
Yeah.
If you struggle with that part, but
so the fasting mimicking,
perfect.
Yeah. So Walter Longo did the fasting mimicking diet. So he put together, and this is something that happened commercially, is like fasting mimicking diet. People can order the boxes and then but basically it's like soup and some olives kind of thing. So, you can do that at home without having to outlay that, but it's
so olives are good, and they please.
You're doing this good bad thing again.
No, I just need confirmation because I smash olives.
Olives are fantastic. From a lot of perspectives, if they suit you. So again, it's like that body type and all of that sort of stuff. But
how do we figure that out? Because you've referenced that quite a lot. Like, how do you know what sort of body type you are? Is it just listen to your body and experiment?
Actually, on my Stan store, I've got I think it's a link or a one of those QR codes or something. So one of the groups that I'm involved with is Precision Health Alliance, and Precision Health Alliance actually have an app where you can get an annual membership and you put in measurements that you take from your body. So, standard measures like your weight and height and stuff like that, but also like strategic measures like your neck
circumference.
And so, you do all of your circumferential measures and there's a questionnaire, and then it'll tell you what your body type is.
It comes back fat. You are fat. So is that all science backed? Because depending where you're storing the majority of your okay.
So you probably might know that neck circumference correlates with cardiac health or unwellness.
Okay.
So the F1 drivers are fucked. So doing all that training.
My chins. How many chins you got?
Chins
it's like, put your finger on your chin.
Which one?
I was like, at teacher comedy night, one of the funny stories was I had ink on my face, and the student says, "Miss, there's ink on your chin, ink on your face." She said, "Where?" And the student goes, "Your first chin."
Your first chin.
Well, like your outside chin rather than your underneath chin.
One of the multiple chins she had is, "Where is it?" He goes, "Your first chin." From a 6-year-old. So
I've never even heard of that before.
So I was just calling her fat without calling her
classic.
Okay,
So as you know from traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, there's different body types. So there's all of these different body types, and you just look around and short, thin, fat, whatever.
Pears.
And that will
pears or apples or whatever you want to call people.
Body shape will be reflective of the body type, and then the body type will just be that is almost like a one size fits all.
Well, there's 6 different types in the Precision Health Alliance thing, but actually every 5 degrees around the circle is a slightly different type. So, and also obviously it's quite 3-dimensional.
Yeah.
So, people have traits of different things. Yeah. So, your mind type might be different again. So
I've got a skinny mind. Got a fat body.
You've got an expanding mind. Many ideas.
Well, that's a good segue into mental health, because what relationship does your gut health have with your mental health? Because you've alluded to it a couple of times.
Yep.
And I guess considering how you're developing these hormones and serotonin and stuff, that's a part of your brain. I guess it's easy to see how your gut health can affect your mental health.
Yeah. Well, one of the major things is inflammation. So if you've got a very inflamed system, an irritated system, then the cytokines and all the chemicals with inflammation are going to be inflaming the brain as well. And so some of the things like turmeric and fish oils really help people's brain health. But part of the reason for that is that they're anti-inflammatories. So, if we've got anti-inflammatory herbs and spices and fish oils and turmeric and all of that, it settles down that inflammation. And so some people with depression, it's because of the inflammation that they're depressed. It may not be related to GABA and serotonin and all of those things.
Okay.
So
most of my depression comes from the mirror. Like, if I'm fat, I'm depressed.
Mate, definitely.
Like,
when you've had a bad week, like, because
yeah.
I fluctuate. I don't know about you, but I can go through like shredded to
Yeah,
just like
within a week,
pillow
yeah.
to, and I'm like very quickly, and then you're like, and then you turn it around, you go right, discipline.
Yeah.
And I said actually to Grace this morning, I need to stop with these fucking fluctuations
Yeah.
and
You
more
can't
just
link
like
your mood to
just tuning in.
yeah.
And not beating yourself up about it, I think would be the major thing. Because I would, because... Yeah, I mean, in this system, you'd probably be a crusader, and crusader's a bit like the racehorse, like they're kind of getting thrashed and they're doing it themselves, and like, we're going to run faster because I didn't do well, and now I'm gonna, you know.
It's a Ben Cousins mentality.
Yeah.
Where you just punish yourself because you've had a big
keep
dinner.
punishing yourself because like you didn't do well, or then punishing yourself because of other, like, it's just be kind and just kind of go, okay, so I did that, I need a bit more discipline, or I need a bit more encouragement. How do I encourage myself? How do I gift myself encouragement? How do I look after this incredible system? And, you know, it's really, I think kindness back there with all of that. And crusaders are renowned for, you know, increasing their own stress and going on those.
What are some of the other
spirals.
types? 'Cause that's kind of interesting to me because listeners might.
It is really interesting.
Listeners might recognise a type in themselves.
Yeah. So, you know, activators are the ones that get particularly hangry because they actually need feeding more frequently. So whether that's just a piece of fruit, a few berries, or this and that.
We call them girlfriends. Like gremlins,
Girlfriends
just
that you
not
feed.
after midnight.
So many of them.
Well, there's none of
We've
them.
got
But
one in each room or something like that. You know, flick some food in every direction.
Little activators. Okay.
Yeah,
Is that because they get a mental kick from that little snacking, or is it more just the body's processing stuff quicker?
I think very fast processor kind of feeling. Yeah. And then you've got so diplomats and guardians are more the bigger bodies, I guess, and also slower gut processing. Okay. So needing a lot of fiber to really make that work. Right. So, you know, that's where, you know, then more plant foods can often work, but also ketogenesis can work really, really well for diplomats and guardians. And so the bigger bodies, you know, lots of plant fibers to feed the microbiome, but also the movement, like constant movement through the day. So it's not just about food, and that's the thing, is with precision health, it's about everything. It's about the mind. You know, are you optimizing what you actually need to do in life, like what you know, what thrills you, what gets you in your flow, and all of those things as well. And even outlook. I mean, like, we've got all these blinds around the windows, but like, if you've got a beautiful outlook, that changes your physiology. If you're out in the field, like if you're somebody that's really designed for being out farming in the fields and you're not seeing that because you're locked into an office, that's a stress, right? If you're not seeing the sun, if you're not seeing the greenery, if you're not seeing nature. So, you know, so there's a lot more to precision health, and yes, it's underpinned by lots of different layers of science. So it's got soil biology in there, it's got you know, chronobiology, as we've mentioned, and it's about everything you see, hear, smell, touch, taste, and it's all of these different things, how your stress levels are depending on what you need to do, like whether you feel like you've achieved something, whether you need to be somebody that's connected to lots of different people. So connectors obviously are people that, you know, they feel good when they're around a big group of people. They're the party animals. They're the, you know, ones that want to exercise in an exercise class as opposed to somebody who just wants to run like hell, you know, kind of thing. So there's different exercises for all. So some people, like the endos, like the guardians and diplomats, are best with really big weights and just doing a few reps, and that actually manages their insulin. So if you have a big meal, because guardians and diplomats might be more, with the whole family and a big family lunch. And then, if you actually do some heavy lifting or some exercise after the meal, it actually makes the insulin build muscle rather than fat. And, time of day for exercise matters. Time of day for eating obviously matters. We've discussed before. Yeah. But, the afternoon is usually best for everybody to do exercise. Yeah. But particularly even in autumn when, of course we might want to, naturally we might be putting on weight in the autumn because we've got winter coming up and there may not be food, that kind of a thing, if we kind of relate back to nature. But if we do the exercise, we can be building muscle rather than fat. And that's a really key hack with the whole insulin thing, right? So all of those people that become metabolically unwell and all the, the diabesity epidemic that we're having, because there's just too much food all day, every day, and it's all available and there's too many calories in it and it's too much carbs and all of that sort of stuff. If we're actually switching on the hormones in the right way, that's where this precision health kind of can help people to find what their type is. And to me, that's empowering because it's about, we empower ourselves with that knowledge of who am I as a body, what's my best exercise. And the app that people can sign up for will have, foods rated from top to bottom of the best foods for you to ever eat. And then these are the things
specifically for you,
avoid
and your
for
type.
you, for your exact physiology at that time.
That's good.
And that's the app available through Precision.
So Precision Health Alliance. So if people go onto my Stan store, so somewhere there's a Precision Health Alliance PHA link, and then they can go and learn a bit about that.
I'll get you to send it to us, and we'll put it in the show notes. But, you mentioned smell before. What sort of impact is breath and breathing having on your gut? Is that having any impact, or and smells and what we're taking in?
Well, I think the smells of really good home cooking prime your system for, then your stomach starts grumbling, doesn't it?
Starts going and producing your
so the whole
amylase or something that helps break down food.
So it's like a recognition, and then everything starts to prime and get ready.
Soon, Okay. So when you are cooking, as you're going along,
you start salivating. Wow. Okay.
So that's the smell thing relating to food, but also what was the other thing you said? So breath,
oxygen intake.
Well, I mean, I think all of the techniques that about breath work and so forth are about getting ourselves from that fight or flight into rest and relax. Yeah. Right? Rest and digest, or feed and breed. In Delby's.
Yeah, feed and
breed.
Feed and try
Favorite things to do. So
it calms your nervous system as well, obviously.
So it's settling the So I think settling the nervous system with the breath, or people kind of. Oh, do you know this really cool thing that's really on my mind at the moment is thought is one of the forms of water. So have you listened to the telepathy tapes?
No, I have not.
Oh my God.
I wasn't sure if they're debunked or not. Are they?
It just kept coming up. But there are these autists, these non-verbal autistic people that are now communicating by telepathy, and they've now proven that. So they've had the mum in one room, they've had the autist in the other room, and they've shown the mum a number of 4+ digits, and the kid's written it down in another
So I was wondering if that was
non-deniable,
actually verified, or if that whole series was a troll.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been verified by too many people who I trust too highly for what sort of research they
super
put
interesting.
into it.
Yeah.
Well,
it's fascinating that we can communicate telepathically. I've always been into that. It's fascinating. Yeah. And telekinesis is a whole nother level as well.
Just a sense, isn't it? Like we can hear.
A lot of your times your partner expects you to know what they're thinking. And
well,
now they're like, well, if the autistic kids can do it, why can't you?
This ridiculous idea. Yes. Grace, don't listen to that. So this ridiculous idea that we have programs that can pick up on an invisible signal, which is Wi-Fi, which is an energy, and we feel like we don't have something that potentially could pick up on Delby's vibe or your vibe, the vibration that you are sending
But
through.
you do, don't you? Because
Yeah.
if you walk into a room where somebody's had a really shit, you can feel that. You
definitely.
can feel
Yes,
when shit's
the
gone
tension.
down. can't
Comedy
you?
is a great.
That.
You've talked about
And
it
then
a
you
bit.
explode it with comedy.
Well,
and you
comedy.
get rid of it.
Well, comedy
right?
is the difference between watching it on TV and being in the room.
Being in the room.
Fucking 100 times better.
But the same with music. Like you go to a stadium and everyone's into the same music and you're all vibing with that.
Yes,
like
the
we even
feel
talk
good
about
of-
vibing.
Yeah.
So
Well, and this is the thing I've spoken about, like in the swim I did the other day with the 24-hour swim for autism, and everyone there in a good mood, there for a good reason.
Yep.
No tension, no nothing. It's just a feel good. And then you could go to a pub and everyone's on
edge, something's
on edge.
happened, or like,
and nothing's happened, but like everyone's on
Yeah.
edge. Something could kick off, and you're
Yeah.
like, well, fucking, we're picking up on a vibe.
Yeah.
We're picking up on vibration and energy
Yeah.
that's being given off.
Absolutely.
Who knows where that is received?
All the time. All the time. Like we're always in that.
Yeah.
Because, like I used to set up my room when I was working in clinical practice. At the start of the day, I'd be getting into that state of, holding people in high regard and, really I want to, like managing the energy. And I think a lot of naturopaths and other kinds of healers would do that. And, whatever you want to do, like whether it's crystals or smells or this, that and the other, but it's actually about that internal sense. And you can focus on your heart and think about love and gratitude, and you want to be in that space with other people. Like it can be an instant thing, right? And we can all create that.
Yeah, just from intention.
Yeah, intention.
Yeah.
I've read
like the Intention Experiment. Have you read like those books, like the Intention Experiment and the Hidden Messages in Water?
Oh,
like,
yeah, I've
that's
seen that one.
wild.
I've
Yes.
heard
Wild.
I read somewhere, I don't know if it was like a scientific or if it was a real or something, but it popped up by saying the way you think about your food actually influences how your body
Yes.
digests
Oh,
it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That was pretty insane.
Yeah.
Because you could have your chocolate, but if you think it's doing you benefit, your
Correct.
body's going
Well,
to...
now we know it's doing benefit
Yeah.
because actually
Your body will break it down
antioxidants,
differently.
so-
And
yeah.
this was something I dealt with like drinking or the intention that you have. Like obviously you don't want to abuse chocolate, you don't want to abuse alcohol, you don't want to abuse drugs. But like these are the things that are worse if you're beating yourself up. It's almost worse than the actual health
Exactly.
damage.
Don't get angry at yourself for doing something that you enjoyed at the
You can
time.
have a wine with a
right?
pasta and dinner. Like
Yeah.
don't fucking beat
Yeah.
yourself up. Obviously
Yeah.
I wouldn't, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I'm trying to work on that skill where I'm eating chocolate going, this is vegetable. This is a vegetable. And I'm trying to get my body to...
technically cocoa.
If it can identify.
It is a plant.
Oh, there we go.
It's one of
Cocoa
your 40
plant.
foods, right?
Yes.
Correct.
And then if you've got it with raspberries in as well, then
Yeah.
you've got two.
Fruit and nut. I'm getting 3-4 things.
Oh, yeah.
Plants, fruits, nuts. Let's
Yeah.
go.
There we go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, I don't know if they've done scientific studies on it or not, but that was really interesting. They found that some people's intention and how the relationship with the food, it digested it and it actually broke down differently.
Yeah.
Which was,
Yeah.
that was
Phenomenal.
incredible.
Yeah.
But
All right.
so you alluded to it before, your stand series.
Yes,
or
on my
stand-
so recently I met somebody that helped me to kind of get stuff started on a stand site. So I've created this biome basics program, and it's a series of videos plus support materials to help people to make the changes that they know they need to. Because I think, people are intelligent. People know when they're doing the things that support them or the things that don't support them. And like you say, you play it out and you're like, oh, I didn't feel so good after that. Or, oh, I feel fantastic for doing X, Y, and Z. And so it's an explanation, it's information. So for people who want to learn more about the gut microbiome, so there are 3 fairly short videos. I think they're only 20 minutes, half an hour, so 3 of those. And then there's a series of support materials. So some of it's recipes, some of it's just information, and some of it's self-coaching. So the program is designed for people to just, they can buy that off my Stan site, and then they can do it in their own time. So there's questions there for self-coaching purposes so that people can look at, what are my behaviours that I actually want to change.
That's so important because too often we see people saying, well, you have to come to me for the answers. But what you're doing is you're providing people the knowledge and the power to be able to heal themselves. And we've become a society that's so reliant on a pharmaceutical or medical industry to heal the issues that we have. And obviously the best cure is prevention. So if you're providing those sorts of tools, that's fucking incredible.
Yeah. So, I mean, for me, it's about know thyself. It's always about know thyself and know, you know, what your body needs, and then let's work towards it. So, you know, I mean, I think we've said before, like, I'm about inspiring, empowering and educating people. And the empowering bit is empowering people into health literacy and sovereignty. So literacy is about knowing stuff and sovereignty is about taking charge and doing it for yourself. So if you know... So say if you knew what your body type was and you got that app, you signed up for that, and then you could have this list of, you know, what are your best foods and how is it best for you to cook them and what's your best exercise and what's the best time of day for you to do that.
I'm going to be the guinea pig on this.
Yeah,
once
totally.
I get back from Blaze.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a go, definitely, because it's what I've manifested. I've been wanting this exact resource.
I'll be doing the exact same thing. I think I'll be getting on board.
And then the coaching. So, you know, typically the PHA app, you know, you'd sign people up for coaching, but with the Biome Basics thing, it's about you know, self-coaching. So working out what it is you want and what are the steps that you need to do and how are you going to manage to do that. So that consistency, do you put reminders on your phone? Do you kind of like, you know, put a message on the fridge for yourself, or do you have your shopping list so that you know that these are the regular foods that are supporting you at this point in time, and 80%, you know, be having those foods, and so and that's the thing, is they're rated, so it's not like you've got to have this every day and you're never allowed that. It's like most of the time. Do this
80-20.
80-20.
Yeah.
Don't you love it? It's like, you know, so nothing's ever like this whole good bad thing, like nothing's ever bad. It's like, you know, mostly this and a bit of that kind of. Yeah.
I love that. 80-20 is what I want to live my life by. I actually wanted to up it to about 90. Because I had a bad few weeks, but I'm back to like, I'm feeling a bit better. So. You go to Thailand and you drink and eat a lot of shit for a while. You sort of want to heal yourself a bit. But
and depending on like if that does do like make you feel bad or do damage or whatever, because obviously, you know, there are people that really can't eat this thing because it's really bad for them and so forth. So, you know, you've got your celiacs and, you know, whatever else. So high histamine doesn't work for a bunch of people. So, you know, by having that knowledge, so if you've got the knowledge, and then it's choice and consequence, isn't it? And that's what I like to say. It's not about beating yourself up. It's you made that choice. This was the consequence. What are you going to do next time? Are you going to learn from that, or are you going to do it again?
Well,
you know,
and
like you need to do it 10 times before you learn the thing.
Well, that's the thing. Even getting this program and being part of the alliance, that sort of stuff. You can have all that information if you don't implement it or use it.
Yeah. What's the point?
Yeah, exactly. But thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate the time. And felt like we got a bit out of that one. Lots of knowledge.
So all the information, the links will be in the show notes.
I'll chuck them in the show notes in the description of the episode. Anything you want to plug before we really finish up?
I mean, I've put a lot of work into the program, the Biome Basics program, and, you know, it's like it's distilled like a good 10 years of my life into that, because I worked clinically and I was learning. So all of the stuff that I learned from conferences, all of the stuff that I learned from working with people, and then because I like to summarize things, like I've summarized it right down and made it into something that people can access easily in their own time. It's cheaper than seeing me, like just get on track with that. And if people can't afford that or choose not to, I've also put a recipe book together. So there's an ebook that's only $24, and that is about biome. That's called Biome Builders. So it's building your biome by, you know, just going through using those recipes essentially.
You've got a couple of purchases here, I think.
Yeah, I hope so.
That's good.
That'll keep me going a bit longer.
And
maybe I can buy food.
Are you still doing the buy me a coffee thing as well? Is that
the buy me a coffee thing is there? So if people want to support me by donations, but I would prefer that people support me by actually buying the program that I've put together, because then I benefit
themselves.
and you benefit.
Yeah.
You know, like it's actually about my purpose. And you know, when you do something and you complete it and you actually get that benefit, you feel satisfaction and competence from it. So for me, I would feel more satisfied if people bought that and then went and did it. Do you know what I mean? They buy the program, they watch it, they implement all the things, and that's then like 100, 1,000 people that I have actually helped.
Yeah.
And then
without-
we'd feel
without
a lot
one-on-one.
more satisfied if we helped you help others.
Yeah,
That's our-
totally.
Help us, help
Yeah,
you,
like
help
make
them,
it
help
all-
you, help us.
Yeah, make it all go round. And
Delby
like,
would feel more satisfied if he had his innermost desires met.
I had my gut
still be
biome.
working
That's
on
my
that.
inner. That's my innermost desires. My gut biome.
Fuck yeah.
We keep going in and out of focus here, so I'm trying to like lean.
Yeah,
yeah,
just when I
intro.
turn it back on. I'll go fix it up for the intro. But
Cool.
cheers. Thank you
Thanks
so much.
heaps.
awesome. Thanks so much.
And
It's so much
Perth
fun coming on
listeners,
here.
This will be
Yeah.
out next week.
Tomorrow.
So next week, if you're listening to this, Mandurah people got Teach Comedy Night down there. Only 20 tickets left. Otherwise, standing only.
Cool.
Cool.
Wow.
All right.
Hooroo.
Hooroo.